Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 37 of the Whitey and Will Sports Show. Today is Monday, June 6th, 2022, and for the second straight week, our guest is a state champion high school baseball coach. We had Justin Fleener on last week, and this week we have the newly crowned coach of the North Clay Cardinals, the 1A state champions. They just won it Saturday in convincing fashion in Peoria. Coach Frech has been nice enough to join us, the guy who's been at the helm for the North Clay City baseball co-op for quite a few years now. I think more than 10 years now since they've gone together. And you were at Clay City even before that, according to IHSA. So, Coach, first of all, thanks for taking the time.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. And
also, congratulations. Guys scored 27 runs in 2 games up at Peoria. And, I know that the expectations this season were high and you expected to do well, but I'm guessing that 27 runs in 2 games at Peoria might have been a little even above and beyond what you might have hoped for as far as the season wrapping up.
Yeah, I knew we could score runs, but you never plan on that many runs at a state tournament. But luckily for the guys, they were pretty loose, and that was kind of our motto going in: is to stay loosey goosey. It's just free baseball and go after it.
Yeah, it was impressive to watch, and we can get into the number of reasons why it was impressive because your team does everything well. But I think, you set a school record for wins this year. You guys won 33 games as well, went 33-6, and 33-6 is one thing, but I look at who you played this spring. It was a challenging schedule. And I'm guessing that's another thing with high expectations, even with high expectations. I can't imagine that you set this schedule up thinking we're going to win 33 of these games. I mean, you want to obviously play good teams and get yourself ready, but boy, oh boy, winning that many games against the schedule you put up in front of yourselves, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, a lot of the teams that we played I either played with them in summer when we were younger, or I played with them in college. So like Nashville's assistant coach, it was Calvin O'Rear. Mm-hmm. And I played with him in the summer back in the day, and Triad's assistant coach played at McKendree before I did. And a lot of them, like I'd send out messages and be like, hey, we're going to be decent. Can we get a shot to play you guys if you ever get one open? And a lot of them accepted it. Our guys, I just told them from the get-go, I'm going to challenge you every step of the way. This is not a layup schedule.
Coach, 2 things, and I'm glad we're talking about your schedule first. Why do you know it's hard to believe? I did some research last day. 33-6, 39 games. 18 of those games were played against teams that won at least a regional. At least a regional, okay? Troy Triad's still alive. They're playing in the 3A Super. So there's one of the 18. Not counting in that 18 were your games against South Central, pretty quality, defending state champ, Catopolis, Altamont. That's not counting probably 6 teams that could have won regionals probably anywhere but where they actually were.
Yeah.
So that just shows you the strength of that schedule.
Yep. I mean, I didn't want them to think that this year was going to be easy because I knew going in the kids know because social media is everywhere now. And max prep is the thing to look at for them, no matter if I try to keep them away from it or not. And we were preseason ranked number 1. And so they knew, and I'm not going to keep playing layup teams. If you're going to be the number 1, you got to earn it. And that's what I wanted. When we went down to Edwardsville, they asked me who I wanted to play. I said, whoever you got. It didn't matter. And we had to play in Bennett Academy right off the bat.
And the thing is, when you got to Peoria, there's nothing you're going to see in those 2 games that you haven't already seen. There's nobody going to come in throwing harder probably than anybody you've seen more than once on your schedule. You've seen it all. And that's the thing about it. I mean, you see it in basketball more than anything where people really will soften a schedule to kind of get wins. And it hurts them when you have a school that's not that now is stepping up to the plate. Now, you guys had been really good for several years, but sometimes a school has a good group coming and they don't prepare for it. You guys were prepared, obviously, because you've been playing a tough schedule for several years. But yeah, okay, yeah. Troy Triad beat us 9-2, 9-3. That's okay. It was a learning experience, and we competed with a team who's now playing for a 3A super sectional. Yeah. So kudos to you guys for making that schedule that way.
And we actually threw against, Breeze Central was number 1 when we played them and we lost 3-2.
Yeah, there's another team that didn't win a regional who were awesome.
They were really good. That team was loaded. And we threw Colin Ballard, who only threw 17 or 18 innings for us, and we lost 3-2. And then at Triad, I threw him again, and we were in it until he basically came out in the 5th inning. It was like 2-2 or 3-2, and then they busted it open after that. But we were in the majority of games. We never were out of any of them.
Right. No. I mean, that's the thing about your schedule. Now, one thing you mentioned, Calvin O'Rear. I mean, I got a chill when you said that because I had to coach against him and his little baby brother Lucas in basketball. And Calvin actually got cut and had to get us stitches. He collided with one of my kids under his eye or on his chin. And after the game, my kid apologized to him. He said, "Hey, that's okay. Chicks dig the stitches." So, there's a Calvin O'Rear story. I didn't know I was going to have to pull out of my Rolodex, but I had to face him and his little baby brother in basketball, and faced his baby brother more than once.
He's the pitching coach now at Nashville.
Calvin is?
Yep.
All right. And Lucas was in the Reds organization.
Yep. And I'm not sure what he's doing now. I think he might still be in Iowa, but I'm not sure.
I think he is. I think he's still in Iowa, but yeah, he was a rather large human. That's for sure. That's for sure. So Coach, you get Zimmerman throws your first game, does a really good job. You kind of split 2 and 3, and I know you've done that a couple times, but I got to think, okay, if we start struggling again, I know I've got, all kinds of, options 4, 5, and 6 are okay to bring out here, and with your depth.
Yeah, we had, after Clifton, we had Colin warming up down there. And then I was going to have Griffey ready because they had 2 lefties, 3 and 4 in their lineup. And so if it came down to it, I was going to throw Brighton against them because he's 83 to 85. And I have confidence he could just throw it by him.
Yeah.
We did have a lot of options. And I had a game plan going in. I knew what I wanted to do. And I had told them going to the championship game, whatever changes we make, it's going to be quick. And I'm not going to waste time because you have no time in those games.
Well, and that's the thing. You can't let, you built up your lead. All of a sudden, you can't let things start getting away from you because if they do, it starts snowballing on
you. Yep.
You, one of the things that I have noticed about your team is that, and I assume that there's a concerted effort to do this, but you put pressure on defenses. You just take them out of their comfort zone. Even going back to that sectional championship game with Windsor Stu Straws, that starting the runner from third, I assume that part of the mindset there is maybe you steal home, but maybe they make a mistake, and that's kind of your team is able to do that, right? Just and again in the super sectional, ball gets by the center fielder, next thing you know, a kid's circling the bases. I mean, you guys make it so that a mistake is compounded and so killer.
Yeah, the way I looked at it is we had 9 athletes, and we have more than that in the dugout that don't even get to play, unfortunately. Right. And use our team speed and our knowledge to our benefit. And we prepared for that, actually, to the steal at home that game, because I figured Warrenstein's is a tough customer. And I'm like, we're if it comes down to nut cutting time, I got to find a way to score. And, that was one of the ways we planned it, and no better than Logan to do it because he's one of our smartest guys.
Yeah. And it's a special group. I mean, anytime you can get 8 or 9 seniors on a roster, let alone whether they're all starters or not, I mean, that just doesn't happen very often that kids stick with it until the end. But to have them all to have a vast majority of them be contributors and very good ball players, I mean, it's I don't want to say once in a lifetime, but once in a blue moon for a high school coach, I would say, especially to school and a program that size.
Yeah, and the intriguing part about these guys, and the cool part I wish I kind of preach to the parents a little bit. I wish more teams would do this. These guys from day one, they had this saying that was 10 years in the making, is they started playing together when they were 8 years old, and they stayed with each other all the way through. And they didn't like leave to go play travel ball or anything like that. They stayed with each other. And I mean, they're sure there was a little bit of arguments, but they're more like brother arguments. They're not because they know each other.
Right.
And Brady communicating with all the other players on the field. I mean, it just takes little signals from him, and they're like, yeah, I've seen that 100 times. Let's go ahead and pick him off.
Well, and I saw a picture somebody had posted, and I don't know if it's something that Coach Zink had shared where it was a picture of them probably when they were 8 years old, you know. And I was looking at that picture, and I'm like, oh, you know, you can tell just a couple of goofy kids that, okay, I know who this kid grew up to be, and I know who that kid grew up to be. But yeah, and that's the thing. And I want to build on that. I think it was Decatur TV station. I'm not sure, Coach, but one of your interviews after the championship game, and it was kind of an aha moment when I heard you say it, because, you know, being in coaching, you have that. People don't understand. Now, obviously, yours was at a much higher level, but you said it was bittersweet. And I'm sure people are going, bittersweet? The man just won a state championship. But I understand completely because, and then I'll let you expand on why you said it was bittersweet.
Yeah. You know, it's sweet because you win, right? And everybody expects that. But then I look up and I go, I just lost 8 great men to graduation, and this is the last game. And I've been with them so long, and I'm so close to them. And it was emotional for me as well as them. And a lot of them were like, Coach, I never seen you cry like that. And I go, well, you know, I'm losing 8 best friends, really. You know, it's guys that Donnie Zimmerman asked me whenever he was 8 years old. I remember to this day, and I brought it up to him. He asked me, he goes, will you coach me when I'm in high school? And I went, oh man, you know, that's a long way away. You know, hey, you know, 5, 6, 7 years, man. I don't know. That's a long way away. And he was like, well, I hope you do. And here we are.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, you could see it. You could see it in your eyes. You could hear it in your voice. It was, you know, and as a coach, you miss it when, especially when a really, really good group you like move on. I mean, you know, coaches, we have groups sometimes where, you know, you miss more than others. Let's just put it that way. There's some groups of kids you'll miss more than others when you move on. And you know, when you have that special group, you'll remember, I mean, you know, Coach, I'm just going to tell you, 15 years from now, you're going to be sitting doing something. You're going to start thinking about, you know, that first game, how you guys put together all those runs, you know, all those memories are going to start coming back to you because, you know, they just do. That's just part of the disease coaches have. So, you know, but like I said, I enjoyed it when I heard you say that because that was kind of that aha moment. And that shows how vested you are in the kids. You know, you're just not out there writing in the lineup and letting them do their thing. You know, you're vested.
Yeah, well, I have a little boy, he's 8 actually, and he goes to every practice and he knows them and he has his favorites and they all treat him like, you know, they're his little brother and things like that. And, you know, and he's out practice squirreling around and I'm like, somebody's got to watch Easton, and they'll watch Easton. And, you know, of course he never wants to hit with dad, but he'll hit with the boys.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's just how it goes, right? Everybody.
Well, and I think I saw a picture of your son. I think Coach Zink's got a son the same age. And I think it was a picture of them together at Peoria Josh had posted. I just kind of laughed. I said, those, you know, there's another generation right there brewing.
Yep. And the great thing is that, and he probably won't get it until he's a little bit older, but before the championship game, they asked for somebody to throw out the first pitch. And I said, well, can my kid do it? And they went, yeah, sure. And so they got him out of the stands. He threw the first pitch of the championship game, which we ended up winning, but it was kind of really neat. I think I was more nervous for him throwing a strike than I was the game.
Well, that's a cool moment right there. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
So your guys, I mean, again, across the board, I can't really think of a thing that they didn't do well this year, but the thing that impressed me as I saw them down the stretch, the plate approach 1 through 9, guys who go up there and there's not one person you can turn to as a pitcher and say, this is the part of the lineup I go to try and get a few outs. I can't. You just didn't have a guy like that. And even if people made outs, they made the pitch last 5 or 6. They made the at bat last 5 or 6 pitches. I mean, is that just? I don't know how much work goes into that from them. Like, I don't know. How do you end up with kids like that? I guess it just blows my mind because I've seen a lot of high school baseball. I've never seen a lineup that was just so disciplined and so difficult to deal with from start to finish.
Well, we work on it in practice. We have a thing. If you watch any of our games, you hear me yell approach when they get to 2 strikes. And it's, if you get one you like, obviously hit it. But if there's one that you think is close, spoil, try to at least tip it. And then the next thing is the next pitch. We don't worry about that pitch. We're focused on the next pitch, and a lot of times you find with a lot of high school kids is they get flustered about some pitch and their mind's on that pitch. And all we're doing is trying to foul it off to get to the next one. And, the law of averages works. He's bound to mess up or get frustrated and go, hey, you know what? I'm just going to throw it down the middle and see if we can hit. And I'll take the odds.
Yeah, and you guys make a lot of productive outs too. I listen to both games on the weekend on the radio, listen to your super, but a lot of times runner on second, runner on third, ground ball to the right side, you get the runner in, just not just going up there. And the thing I hate is when I hear young kids talk about, this or that or launch angle. And I'm like, I read Charlie Lyle's book. When I was a kid in high school, the word launch angle is never in that book. And Charlie Lyle was a pretty good hitting instructor. Ask George Brett. So, I said, it's amazing. Kids want to take the shortcut and the glory instead of, hey, if I can just consistently put the ball in play, hit the hard line drive, hit the hard ground ball, things are going to happen.
Yep. We want to put as much defense or much pressure on the defense as we can. And with those big games like that high intensity, the more I get somebody else to touch it, there's more room for error because the guys are nervous and they're not relaxed. And
you say that, and yet your guys, for the most part, made the plays this weekend too. I mean, with Brighton Griffey in the championship game, it's not going to get a ton of attention because none of them were like diving catches or anything like that, but the ground he covered in center field, that's a big outfield there too. And he made it look easy.
Yeah. He goes and gets it. I don't know if I didn't tell him before the game to beat Kelly off of Bad News Bears, but he's pretty close, I mean, he was covering both gaps, and once we got to the championship game, I have Donnie out left and Donnie's a really good outfielder too. And Dakota works hard at what he does, and he's solid. I mean, nobody knew it, but at Peoria, it sits down in that bowl.
Yeah.
Once that ball gets up, that's where the wind's at, and it carries it. And those balls that hit the right field got up and they carried on him, and we were planning on that.
Yeah, that's what we wondered because there were, especially in the semifinal game, a couple of balls that seemed like they just off the bat, they didn't seem like they were going to go as far as they did. And that hurt Dakota a little bit. But then in the championship game, he made a couple of fantastic catches out there.
Yeah. That one down the line, right field line, he made with two hands. It was a crucial situation too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they rebound and they're not sulkers. I didn't raise them as babies and I'm not going to pat them on the back. And I told them for routine plays, I'm not going to stand up and go, yay, good job. But because I expect it. Logan Fleener, I don't know how many times, dove in the hole and made a play. And he comes in, I go, good job, Logan. You're supposed to do that. Okay. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and praise you because I expect it.
Well, Logan's probably used to that too.
He's very used to it.
Yeah. There's something.
His mom was raised him tough. I'm telling you what, Dad's a little soft, but Susan, she stays on top of it.
Well, I told Logan, I said, hey, now you got one to share with your dad. Now he doesn't have that one on you. You won a state championship.
Yeah.
Well, after in the fall, the wooden bat.
Yeah.
Because I think he had it with him or his mom, or I don't remember how it was getting back after, they're taking the bat. And I said, is that going to be on the Fleener table when you get home, Logan? He goes, oh, yeah.
Well, the running joke is when we played Justin and we were fortunate enough to beat him more than we lost to him this
Yeah,
year.
this year,
I
sure.
said, Logan, if you need a place to stay tonight, go ahead and give me a call. You know, you can stay whatever you want.
Now, all kidding aside, though, we looked down at a certain point Saturday and saw you and Justin talking a little bit before the game. I assume that he's been a bit of a resource for you, just in terms of what happens when you go to Peoria, maybe the off the field type stuff, because it's not just show up and play the game. There's so much other crap that has to happen. And he's obviously been around that block a time or two. So I'm guessing it was probably helpful to have that to draw on.
I use Justin. I look at him and I go, you know what? He's everything that every coach should want to be. He's professional. He conducts himself right. He tries to raise young men to be good fathers. I mean, I'd be lying to you if I said I don't try to copy him in some way.
Well,
he's a great guy.
Yeah, and that in 17, when I was the AD and went up there, and I said, Justin, I said, I'm watching you, but I said, anything I need to do or what? He goes, I got it all written out, Mike. I'll give you a copy. So, I knew when I had to have the Blimpie subs there for lunch on what day. I mean, he's got it down. I mean, because he knows.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we going to do for lunch? Let's go walk around. No, I mean, here's what we're getting lunch delivered to the hotel. Here's what we're doing. We're going to, I forget the name, Illinois Central College. We're going to go there and take BP. They've got it all set. He's got the route from the hotel to to where they practice. It's just all in an itinerary he gave me. I go, all right, and then I just watch him. And I love watching how, if something wasn't working, one of the assistant coaches was 10 minutes late. The bus was late to go to BP for the championship game. And you can see the wheels turning, but it wasn't showing, He was just fine with it, but you could tell he's like, but yeah. And that's the thing, I was amazed. He got it all mapped out, everything that was going on, and it was easy. I just had to, stay out of the way.
Well, at one point in time, I did go down there and I went, hey, it was a championship game. And I go, hey, I'm reading this right? It was Burkett was getting tapped around a little bit. And I went, hey, because my game plan was I was going to Holden as soon as I had to. And I went, hey, are you seeing the same thing I am? And he goes, yep. And I went, okay, that's all I need.
That team could swing it, couldn't they? They were a couple timely hits away from making that thing real interesting.
Yeah, I think they actually out-hit us.
Yeah.
I was told my good friend is Justin Fuller. He used to be the head coach at McMurray, ended up being an athletic director there before it closed. And he lives up there and now he helps coach Winchester, another high school team up there. And they played Brown County 3 times. He didn't really give me any information. He goes, but I will tell you, because that guy's he's a good friend of his. He's like, they won't quit. He's like, you're gonna have to bury them. He's like, because they will not know when to quit. And yeah. I'm like, that was true. They just wouldn't give up.
Well, and with that in the back of your mind and seeing that game get to 5-3, for you to go out and put up the crooked number in the top of the 6th, I imagine that had to make you feel about 20 pounds lighter in the dugout.
Yeah. I didn't want to go into the 7th inning 5-3. I not when I was on the away team.
Well, yeah.
That's a testament to the kids. Like they all of a sudden turned a corner and it was their second time through seeing that guy and they learned what he was doing and they relay information and they kind of picked up on some sequences that he was doing and we got to him.
Yeah.
John, when you guys played your first game up there, I was looking at the stats and I saw the kid who was going to start against you had ungodly numbers, all these strikeouts and 4 runs, 7 hits. And I thought, holy cow. So I keep thinking, okay, this is the team that's got the one stud and they've rode him as far as they can. But Ballard leads off the game with a triple, like the 3rd pitch of the game. And I'm like, I just started laughing. I said, well, there's the kid's 8th hit he's given up this year,
Yeah.
And
I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, what? This kid's 38 innings pitched, 7 hits, 80K. And I'm like, what am I getting into? And I'm like, I looked up some video. Everybody's got video now, so you can find it. And it was basically like 80, 83. And I'm like, well, we've seen 83 several times.
Yeah.
There should be a problem. And Colin told me, he goes, if I get one, he goes, I'm swinging hard. And I'm like, go for it. And he didn't miss. That kid's a pistol. That kid is a fireball.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of
I will say I did text a member of the media who was at the game if this kid was any good, and he just sent a simple one-word reply, no. So I don't know what that meant, but
yeah, it doesn't. I'm glad you didn't completely throw me under the bus there, Mike. But what I think it does prove, though, is that there are just pockets of really good baseball and places where, sometimes getting through a super is just, not quite as tough from year to year. And that leads me into something I want to talk about without talking about kids on other teams. This area right here, I mean, you look at the sectional that you guys had to come out of, and it's a friggin' killer, right? Like, just you are doing something to come out of that. I mean, win state, yeah, but win that sectional, that's a big accomplishment, and that says a lot about the conference and just our area in general, helping you get prepared for that trip.
Yeah, you talk to any of the kids and they'll say there are two toughest games South Central they were most nervous about, because afterwards they're like, Coach, if we lose that game, we're choke artist. And I'm like, and it's against South Central. And Kurt Jones does an amazing job. Kurt Jones is one of the best in the state as well. And then we turn around, we got Oco Valley, who, you never knew what they were going to get with them. But then, you got to face either St. A or Windsor, and I'm like, well, and it doesn't get any easier. I told the people up there that the NTC is the best 1A conference in the state of Illinois. And if anybody wanted to go toe-to-toe with conferences, I'll take the NTC 100% of the time against any 1A conference in the state.
Well, you could take a team of 15 kids, which I would hate to be on that selection, and a 5-man rotation with 2 studs in your bullpen. And I don't know anybody. You're tough. You know what I'm saying? You're loaded.
It would be tough to leave kids off of that 15-man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be the hard part, would be who you select. And, like I said, you guys, South Central, St. Anthony, you've got 3 state champions out of that conference in the past. And, there's a lot of, you've got pretty solid.
Yeah, and not to mention, the coaches that are in there, that most of them coach, they're fully invested. They're on their game, like not guys who just walk out and go, I'm a coach here and quit. Like, these guys are in it.
Yeah.
And they know what they're talking about. It's a tough conference.
Yeah. And I got to do a lot of games this year, helping these guys on the radio more than usual. And got to see a lot of those.
Yeah, it's and it's not just a recent phenomenon either. It's been that way for a while. Gosh, it's been 20 years since I played in the conference, but even then, especially when T-Town was still in, it was always just it was a gauntlet to have to play in that league. And the North Clays and South Centrals and Diedrichs have been a great addition to it too. Those are programs that have a good, good baseball tradition.
I just got asked by a guy reached out from a guy sent me a message, and he was he graduated from Louisville in 1963, and he lives in Iowa now. And I guess he did some college coaching or whatever, but he wanted me to call him. And he actually asked me why we got out of the MTC. I said, we got out of the MTC because Dietrich and South Central had already left, and they were bettering themselves, where if you stay in the MTC, nobody likes baseball, in my opinion. And so they don't want to play it. And if they do, it's not very quality. And the NTC is like guys who love baseball and want to win.
You even saw that, with Altamont, for instance. A really solid team full of great athletes, but they run into another NTC team in their regional championship, and those schools, even the smaller ones, they'll come up with a pitcher or two that could, wreak havoc on you any given day. It's just top to bottom. Great league.
Yeah, Altamont's very talented. They're going to probably go on a run next year as well as South Central. But Brownstown had the one guy who could pitch. Ryan Beckie does a phenomenal job over there. And like I'm saying, pound for pound, you'd go 1 through, I think there's 11 teams pick one.
Yeah. Well, you talk about coaches being invested. Ryan Becky's been coaching there forever too. I mean, it takes, I don't care if it's a good program, middling program or what, to stick with it for as long as he's done it. That's dedication. So yeah, for sure. Mike, what else you got?
Coach, what with the season, one thing when we had Justin on last week, and he talked a little bit about, you guys, we asked him a couple questions, and he just talked about the amount of time this group would put in early before practice getting at bats.
Yeah.
Justin said, I think they are, that's what Logan says, they may be going somewhere and eating breakfast and showing up 10 minutes before practice starts. He said, but I think they're, they say they're going early to hit, and I assume they are. But, getting kids to buy in like that as a group, that doesn't happen a lot today.
Yeah, we would schedule 9:00 in the morning practice, and they would ask, what time are you going to be there? And I go, I'll probably be there at 6:30 or 7. I'll bring donuts or I'll bring something to eat, and I'll be danged if more than half of them didn't show up. And they would eat and hit or get stuff ready for practice. And by the time, everybody started getting there about 8:30, 8:45, everything was laid out for practice. We were organized, and it just went. We have a saying, 5 minutes early is 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
They know to get their butt there because I want to start at 9.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, if there's several of them coming early and putting in some work and hitting and doing some stuff, they almost start holding each other accountable. Hey, you need to start, why aren't you coming and hitting early with us? Or, maybe that's why so-and-so now is getting more bats than you. It's amazing, I think, when kids start doing a little bit of that themselves, how much that team builds, that culture builds, that unity builds. And, it's really good to see.
Yeah. And it's not only that, it's they get there early, and that's kind of my, because we haven't started yet. So we get to talk about things other than baseball.
Sure.
And, they get to know me more. I get to know them more. And it's not, sounds different to most people who wouldn't know, but it's not always about baseball.
Right.
It's about life sometimes. And they need that chance to disconnect and be able to talk to somebody about something else other than just the game.
Sure. Oh, I agree 100%. And that's the fun part. When your kids feel like they can talk to you about stuff like that, and then you can bring up things totally out of baseball and talk about stuff, and then like I said, they start looking at you differently, you start looking at them differently.
Yep.
Here's something I want to touch on before we let you go. So I'm from Neoga, right? Live here, and we had a girls basketball team that made a nice run in the state tournament this year, and got a really good look at what that means to a small town, that doesn't necessarily get on the map for sports all the time. With Louisville, Clay City, those are again, small, tight knit towns. Don't necessarily get a lot of attention for athletics all the time. It's got to mean something even a little more special for you to be able to represent them that way and to get them that attention that they deserve. And I'm sure it has been a special feeling to see everybody come together around a team the way they have.
Yeah, I was, at the state tournament, I turned at one point and I looked up in the crowd and I was like, this is amazing how many people were there. And then on the ride home, to get the text that we were getting, like, hey, where you at? Where you at? And the kids are like, what, you think there'll be a lot of people? And I go, it sounds like there's going to be a lot once we get back. And as soon as we crossed Effingham County, there was a fire engine and probably, 15 people waiting on us. And then every little country block, there was people out in their yards and they had their houses decorated. And once we got to Louisville, it just busted loose. And I mean, everybody and their brother was out there, and it sends tingles down my spine right now, just thinking about it. And it was absolutely amazing to be able to do that. And I got a lot of texts from former players. And like I told Josh, this is, it's for everybody that in Louisville that ever played and never got the chance. And it's for everybody who ever put in the time.
Well, and
Yeah,
not
and
only
that's
them, not only
Go ahead,
them, but
Marty.
the people who will play also, I mean, a great example to set for the kids like for yours, and Josh's, guys that will be a part of the program someday.
Yeah. It sets a precedent of where we could go and how to do business.
Mhm.
I got 10 holdovers from this year, and Logan's one of them. And I don't think Logan will let anybody slack. I mean, he's going to keep a high standard, and he's got the Fleener blood in him. Not so much Chris, but more Justin. But he ain't gonna let him slack, and I know he'll be the team leader that everybody wants.
Well, and like I said, that's a good thing. I hope it continues to build for you. I do got to give a shout out to Coach Zink and Coach Fleener, because I had to text them and said, hey, we'd like to get Coach Frech on the show, once everything's settled down. Because originally we do Sunday night, and I thought, well, maybe they'll have their homecoming Saturday night. Well, no, that would have been too much. You couldn't have done it because you wouldn't know exactly when you were going to get back in town. So I said, well, maybe we do something Monday. And they both said, well, we'll reach out to him and see. So I do appreciate their help for bird dogging for me. But, again, Coach, congratulations. Awesome. Again, the best part is, Whitey, I picked the state champ about 2 months ago, so I get an apple.
Yeah, you really went out on a limb there. I mean, the team that everybody in the area said was the best, you picked them. So good work.
Well,
Now before the welcome home yesterday. Now, did they make you get up and give a speech, or did you get
I gave probably a 2 or 3 minute speech. People always kind of get on me. They're like, oh, you don't give interviews and things like that. And I'm like, well, it's not that I'm shy. It's that I didn't ever want it to be and I always told a couple of reporters, I'm like, did you talk to the guys first? Because they're the ones who played. I just set the borders and everything like that and kind of stepped in when I had to, but they played the game. Let them get the notoriety and things like that. I just want to be a guy, and a lot of people are like, oh, you just don't give interviews. I'm like, well, it's not because I don't want to. It's just because I feel like they earned it.
Well, next time you see us there, feel free to send one of your guys over. Then we'll take a chat with anybody we can get most of the time.
Logan's getting good at it. You might take Logan. He's going to be a professional at this.
He's working on his cliches. He got the Bull Durham scene down. Just happy to be here, God willing.
All right, man. I've heard a lot of his dad's cliches, so I hope he's better.
Yeah, Logan's a little bit better.
Well, you always got to do a little better than your old man, right? Like that's just the goal in life, is to reach those heights. So,
hey, Whitey, thanks for setting the bar really high for me there. Now I don't know if I can do that.
Well, you're screwed. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't top what he did. So
Yeah. Well, Coach, we really do appreciate you taking the time, and I could spend another hour talking about the things about your team that impressed me, but really, I mean, we didn't even talk about your pitching, really. That's to be able to have the guys you can lean on. Just every aspect of the game, you had guys you could count on, and it's just not common in high school ball to check every box. But I think it's safe to say your team did this year. Yeah,
they pitching wise, walks create havoc, and we if you look at their stats, they didn't walk many. And I wanted them to trust their defense. Let the guy hit 30% of the time. A great hitter gets a hit. Let him play the margin of error here. See if you can get it through. And they did that for the most part. I can't stand sitting in a dugout watching a guy walk people. It drives me nuts, and they won't pitch much. I would rather see guys hit, rather than give free stuff. It drives me nuts, and I just can't live like that.
You mentioned that. I watched Missouri State and Mason Hall from Effingham playing against Oklahoma State yesterday. And when you hang a 12-0 lead after 2 innings, there ought to be a slight feeling of comfort, but I think Missouri State ended up walking 12 batters before that game and got beat 29-15 yesterday by a very impressive Oklahoma State. They're not ranked 7th in the nation for no reason.
Yeah, no joke.
But the walks kill you.
Yep. And then obviously, the pitcher's feeling comfortable enough to let the ball in play to make the plays. And we had the personnel to do that. Our defense was pretty good for the most of the year. And They just trusted what they had. They trusted each other, which is the most important thing.
Well, I don't think we want to keep you too much longer, Coach. But again, appreciate you taking the time, and congratulations. Just a fantastic weekend in Peoria. Probably about as close to a storybook weekend as you could imagine.
Yeah, dream come true. Like,
Yeah.
I could, at the end of that game, I could finally breathe. And when I got home that night, I laid on the couch and my wife didn't bother me, and I went right to sleep. And I didn't like 2:30 in the morning, and I don't even remember getting to bed. I was so mentally drained.
Yeah.
That was a nap well earned, Coach. I'll tell you what.
All right. Well, we thank you for your time, and good luck. Good luck going forward. Big shoes to fill, but with your program being in the shape that it's in, no reason to believe that there aren't good things still on the horizon. So we appreciate it.
Just got to rebuild, reload, and see what happens. A lot more teaching in there, and see what happens. Just got to roll the dice.
All right. Well, hey, Coach, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'm glad you answered my text yesterday. That was my fear. I'd send that text out. Who is this clown? Delete. So,
Justin followed it up. Justin told me.
I know. That's why I told him. I said, now make sure Coach knows this is coming. I don't want him to think, who is this?
These guys are legit, sort of.
Well,
a little bit.
I don't know legit, but
Yeah,
we try.
Legit enough. All right, Coach. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate everything.
All right. Have a good
See ya.
one. We'll see you.
Thanks.
All right. That's Coach John Frech from North Clay, longtime baseball coach there, and nice enough to join us to back-to-back weeks, state championship baseball coaches, right here on our show, because we just got one hell of a booking agent, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Well, he's working. I'm going to start working on our next one.
I'll tell you what.
Maybe a kid that hit a ninth inning homer in a college regional.
Yeah.
To win a game. That's my next attempt.
Well, and let me tell you something. I had a state championship baseball coach right here in my backyard last night, dropping my granddaughter off.
Who's that?
Well, Kenny Miller.
Oh, that's right. Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I forgot.
First one I saw at Peoria. We followed T-Town to state.
Joliet. That was
Joliet the year before.
Yeah.
But then we went when they moved it to Peoria the following year. That was when St. Anthony got the win in 2012. Because
and I like the field at Peoria is really. I like that setting.
Yeah, it's a good. Well, it's just it's a fun. It's a nice. Peoria's obviously compared to Effingham, everything compared to Neoga, big town, but where they put it, you really feel like you're in a big city, right? Because you got the tall buildings in the background.
Yeah, you see a little bit of the skyline in the background. And the way the field is set below ground.
Yeah.
I mean, street level, and you walk down into the field. Very similar. My son, actually, next weekend, I get to go move him in Nashville from one side to the other. And he'll actually be living across the street from where the Nashville Sound play. We've been in that beautiful facility. We've been in that facility. It's really nice.
I'd give a lot to have a close access to a AA or AAA affiliate.
Yeah.
Because the baseball is still better than anything you see, outside of a major league stadium. Obviously, it's still high quality, so many steps above even the best high school game you ever saw. And it doesn't cost a damn thing to get into those games. You can take your kids, have a fun night and not spend that much money. And I wish I could, just live closer. Indianapolis probably about as close as we can get to high level minor.
Yeah, who's AAA do they have in Indy? Is it the Reds?
That's the Pirates. It's
Pirates. Okay.
Yep, it's the.
And Nashville is the Brewers, I believe.
It changes a lot. So
I think because Indianapolis played in Nashville when we were there. Yeah, it is. It is interesting, but I'll tell you what. Something I want to get on my bucket list. A good friend of mine has been there multiple times now because his son-in-law is an assistant at either Ole Miss or Mississippi State, one of the two. But Bobby Heck's been to the College World Series a couple times, and they are. He says the College World Series is incredible.
Yeah, I got a
Like I've
chance.
been to World Series games, and he says the atmosphere is electric. It's just nuts.
I had the chance to do that whenever Kenny was coaching the Effingham Post 120, the American Legion team. They played in a tournament out there that coincided with the College World Series. So they played a Legion tournament, and then part of the deal was while we were there, we went to some games, right? The way that they did things at the old stadium anyway was that you had to buy session tickets and you had to like stand in line ahead of time. So it was kind of, in some ways it was kind of a draining experience, but it's still cool. Obviously. I mean, it's
But Bob said now in this facility they're at now, it's just electric.
Yeah, no, that's true. It was at the old Rosenblatt Stadium that I was at. That was not the year that was not the last year there, but pretty close. I think it's 2011 I was there. But yeah, sure. It's a cool thing. Something I think any baseball fan should get a chance to do once. And it's not that far for us to go from where we're at. I mean, it's a little bit of a drive, but it's not too bad. Not too bad.
Following up on the week, let's start with the Hearts. They played down at Troy Triad, played against Mascoutah.
Yeah.
And you were doing that game, I know, and it was scoreless through 3 innings.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to parts of it, in and out. Didn't sound like Josh had a little control issue.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was throwing about as many strikes as he was balls. It was about a 50-50 split. And that's not quite a good enough ratio, especially against a good team. Like you might get through a few innings that way, but eventually it's going to bite you. And they ran into it. I think it was 5 runs they gave up there in that 4th inning. And it all kind of got started. You put a couple guys on, and then it was a bases loaded bunt, I believe, right? And that was Mascoutah. They bunted a ball, and there was a coverage issue, and that allowed everybody to be safe. And so then they just bunted again. So they bunted 2 runs in on back-to-back plays. I know Effingham had a situation where they had to shift some infield personnel around for that game. And that'll obviously, that's not what you want to have to do in a sectional game. But at the end of the day, it's just a really good team more than anything, right? Like, you get to that level. And the thing is that they didn't even win the next game,
No, Troy beat them.
I didn't see the Triad. I just saw the Triad advance. Didn't see.
So now they're playing Chatham-Linwood in the Super, and that's going to be a heck of a ball game.
That's the challenge that Effingham's always going to face, being located where we are, is that you're a 3A team, and you play in a big school conference, and you play those games on the weekend, but it's hard on a Tuesday night to go play the kind of teams that you need to be able to play to be ready for that kind of sectional competition. And that's just the way 3A is, man. I mean, first of all, usually you run into a pretty damn good team in the regional championship, but then you get into a sectional and you're facing some really good ball clubs. And
when my junior year, we won the regional and went down to Belleville West for the sectional. So we played Belleville Altoff the first game, and Collinsville played somebody the second game. We'd seen nobody, We'd seen nobody, and beat Altoff, and then came back and played Collinsville in the championship of the sectional. Back then, you didn't have a super, so there was 8 teams at state. So we're 1 game away from going to state. At that time, it was in Springfield at Lanphier Park. And, we had a very, very, very good number 1 pitcher, Mike Tabor, who pitched a brilliant game in the first game of the sectional. But we were okay, but we weren't really strong. And Collinsville ended up being the state champ after they beat us. And they beat us, I don't know, 6-2, 5-1, something like that. It wasn't a blowout, but they were really, really good. And then they went up to state and pretty well walked through 3 games at the state and were state champs. So I guess that didn't feel so bad. But yeah, we're facing the level of competition after the regional stepped up significantly. And we answered the bell the first game, but the second one,
I gotta say, Effingham had kind of went through a lull in the season and still managed to get itself to where they beat a very good St. Anthony team in the city series. They won a regional championship. That's a good year. Was the win total quite where you look at it and say, wow, that was a really good season? I don't, win totals rely so much on context that I try not to rely on that too much. But I think at the end of the day, Curran McNeely did a great job with this team. And what I really like Curran, and I really like his demeanor as a coach too. He's a pretty unflappable guy. He stays pretty calm, at least, as far as I've seen. I don't go to practice every day, but we talked to him before that game, and he knew what he was up against. He knew what kind of team he was playing, and he knew the challenges that he was going to be facing as far as, having to shuffle a few things around.
They had to play their best game. They had to play their best game.
Yeah. And he had a smile on his face when he was telling us about it. He was up for the challenge because Curran was a gamer when he was in high school. And that's who he is as a coach too. Like, he's not going to look at a tough situation and feel sorry for himself. He's going to look at a tough situation and say, man, it's going to be cool when we win this. And that's really the attitude you have to have. As a coach, you don't teach kids to make excuses. You teach kids to accept challenges. And that's what they just came up short that day. And that doesn't mean that it was a bad season or anything like that, or they played a terrible game. They just ran into a really good team.
Regional plaque, man. You collect them. Those are awesome. Then 1A, North Clay. I think I texted you a point spread before the game, and I was low.
I mean, who really thinks that you're going to go out and win a state semifinal by 13 runs?
But when I knew my number was skewed, when the kid who was pitching against them, well, he didn't have a strikeout, did he? I didn't think he recorded, because I thought the first North Clay strikeout was by the second pitcher.
All I remember off the top of my head is that there were very few, like through the weekend, like a couple 3 strikeouts.
Right.
You're talking, they scored 27 runs. So they went through their order 8 times probably between those 2 games, and 8 or 9 times. And yet, barely struck out, low single digits. They just put the bat on the ball. They make you work. I mean, I must have said this stuff on the radio a dozen times, but you can't stop saying it, because I've seen good high school teams. I mean, Greg and I have been up there to Peoria to cover more state championships. I mean, we've been up there for the state tournament more often than we haven't in the last 11 years. And despite that, like all around lineup wise, never saw a team that did what this North Clay team does. I will say that I have probably seen teams with a more dominant 1-2 punch as far as their starting pitchers that they used. Luke Busher and Derek Thompson comes to mind for T-Town.
Pretty good 1-2 punch.
But Zimmerman and Burkett, and as it turns out, Clifton did a fantastic job in relief in the championship game. I mean, those are guys, they won't necessarily blow you away, but they pitch. And that's what Coach talked about.
They throw strikes.
Yeah, they don't give you anything. Like, they don't make mistakes. They don't allow a lot of really solid contact. And that's, when you got a good defense behind you, that's more than enough. So just bears repeating, an all-around great team, as good as I've seen a high school team in my years of either newspaper writing or radio coverage, which at this point is, we're getting up over 15 years. So I've seen a lot of pretty good teams, and you've obviously been around a little bit longer and have seen a lot. And I just can't I can't think of a team that is a good parallel.
Not top to bottom. I mean, you've always got a team where you think, okay, if somehow 7, 8, or 9, somebody can get on and get to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't think that with this group.
No.
And again, they're not going to strike out. So, this kid hit the hard ground ball that got booted, or this kid, fisted one, fought one off on his hands and then floated it in, into the Bermuda Triangle there down the right field line for a little double. I mean, they're going to hit the ball. They're going to do some things. And, that was the impressive thing. I saw them in the fall. I saw them, a couple times in the spring, saw them a couple times in the fall, actually. And, they just
relentless,
just up and down the lineup, going to hit. And that's huge. And again, congrats to those guys. I saw a little bit of the video of the last out. Roy and Josh had video of it, and I was laughing because that Josh was really fired up. I guess I should put my phone on mute, but and they should be. I mean, that's what it's all about. When you get that opportunity, that's what it's all about. And
I never had
kudos to them. Just Whitey, show one. We had some elderly gentlemen on here who said there's always deep runs from this area. And basketball, third place finish, softball, sectional championship, baseball, 3 teams from the immediate area in a sectional, 4 when you go Effingham in 3A. Just we're blessed. And that's why we have so much fun doing this. We get to talk about kids in the area.
And let me tell you something, if things go differently, if a couple things go differently in that sectional championship and somehow Windsor Stew Straws comes out of that instead of North Clay, I don't really have much problem saying that I think that it's Windsor Stew Straws that's
the parade may have been 30 minutes north of Effingham instead of 30 minutes south.
And really that's just a testament to the ball that we have in this area. Yeah, it's fantastic. People who take it seriously, and I think for our region, the number of people who we have in town and in the surrounding area, the number of pros that we've been able to, or people who get drafted and stuff like that too. It's pretty impressive. You were that close. A couple of things breaking weirdly from having 2 Effingham kids being in the same dugout, or being in opposite dugouts in the same game in a major league game this season, with Danny and Chad. So,
and it's happened before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happened before with those guys, but again, and Danny, by the way, took his release from the Rangers. So he's a free agent again.
Well, but that sometimes the same thing happened with Matt Carpenter, same organization, because you realize that you might have an opportunity to go somewhere else and contribute. And that's exactly
right. And that's what they've done. And Carpenter went to the Yankees and has hit 4 homers for him. And
that people need to understand what that means, that the Rangers didn't release him because they think he's not worth having in the organization anymore.
Right.
That's because that's giving him the chance to pursue, he feels like he's pitching well enough that he could possibly make the majors with another organization. So he's going to go try to do that.
Well, I know a team in St. Louis that needs a couple bullpen arms. So, I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Well, I think I don't think I've ever rooted for a team where I didn't think that they could use a couple more pitchers somewhere on the staff. So hopefully that works out for Danny, because he's been through a lot. And I want him to get that.
And he's a friend. And he's a friend of the show.
Absolutely. Anybody who is not too. Anybody who's willing to take an hour out of their day to talk to us is a kinder person than I can imagine. So.
Right. Hey, when you do your write up for our show that goes on the little Facebook blurb and the little YouTube blurb.
Yeah.
Mention again, subscribers. We hit a lull. We stayed at 85. And, hey, we can pick up some Clay County subscribers maybe.
Yeah. Well, Josh Sink told me that he was a guy who pays attention. Now, Josh, if you're hearing this, all you got to do is click that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything.
We may have to send that message to his wife. She may have to help him with technology.
Well, I mean, he can get a radio broadcast out. I'm pretty sure he can click a.
They're fun to listen to. We may have him on our show. I think he'd be a good guest to have. But you know what? I'm gonna tell him he's got to get Roy to change his home run call, because when they're on TV and they hit a home run, Roy's screaming ding dong, and I'm like, Roy, you got to find something new.
I don't know.
When I see Roy during golf season, I will tell him that if I don't see him before golf season, because he coaches North Clay's golf team, and I'm gonna say, hey, ding dong's out. You got to find something different.
I don't know. I like it when Pedro Martinez says ding dong Johnson. Now that's have you ever heard him say that? That he calls a home run? He calls the home run, yeah, ding dong Johnson. I don't, I'm not exactly sure what the etymology is there, or whether it's kid friendly or what. But
Pedro's got a little more street cred than Roy does.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Brian Jordan's been doing Braves games some lately,
really,
and he's got to diversify a little bit too, because every time somebody hits a home run, he says that they went yeah, and like. You say it once and that's kind of funny, and you say it 10 times and it's like, man, we gotta.
It's almost like Apo Taco, but that at least
he says that
it's not for every home run. That's not for every.
I'm really I've never been a fan of canned home run calls, like guys who think they need to say the same thing every time somebody hits a home run.
That's what everybody does.
It gets a little it's a little sticky to me. If I were
started with, Jack Brickhouse did it. Harry Carey did it.
Yeah, well, you know what? Who cares about those guys? What are they, Hall of Famers or something?
I'm just saying.
Well, I don't know, Mike. We just don't have any high school sports left to talk about for a while now. We got
no, and we're going to see. I mean, and we may take a break of a week or two. Just to see our attaboys. Obviously, we're kind of done with our attaboys.
Mm-hmm.
We still have to deliver. I think we've got our pictures pretty well all done, other than you've got a tennis kid to track down. So I think other than that.
I keep forgetting about that one, but
but I think we got them, maybe got them all at least pictures taken.
Yeah.
Because I know I got Colin Kinkler and I got Rios and I got Hatton, and then I think we may have them. And again, thanks to Joe's and Pizza Man, who were
absolutely
gracious enough to sponsor our attaboys this year. That was awesome.
And you know what? I'll tell you, it caught on enough just so that they know that what they're doing is not wasted effort on their part. It caught on enough that we have had people suggest to us,
yes,
give us ideas. And so that's good. We're not always going to just do it because somebody tells us to, but it's nice to know that we have people paying attention enough
at the St. Anthony girls sectional championship before the game, they were in the cage hitting, and I got my picture taken with Cameron and Abby Hatton, and I got my picture taken with them. And I was explaining to them what this was, and they both kind of had that deer in headlights look, And Grace Karolevich goes, "You don't know about attaboys?" And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, Grace. Thanks for helping me out."
Yeah,
I think it's maybe because Grace may have had a prom date with somebody who won an attaboy. I'm not going to be Chuck Woolery, but I think that's how she knew about that.
And a couple teammates too, because we gave Lucy and Lucy Fearday got one, and
Riley Guy
got one. Yeah. So we Lucy and Abby are doing strength and conditioning classes this summer at that that Effing Elite Fitness place.
Do they take old men?
it's for girls 3rd through 8th grade. So I don't think you can sneak in. I don't know.
I didn't get my walk in today, but I did help Morgan with her golf camp, and we had over 50 kids today in 3 sessions. Those 5 and 6 year olds, that's about my level for teaching golf.
50 kids with golf clubs seems like a.
Well, they're spread out over 3 sessions, Whitey, and when you're when you have cat-like quickness like I do, you dodge. So you're okay.
Right? I had a
did have
5-year-old.
a kid, a 2-foot putt, the first putting drill.
Really?
And we're talking to them, and they're putting to a golf tee. And I said, you want to hit the tee. And this little boy, and I'm 2 foot from, I'm a foot from the tee. So I'm 3 foot from him. And he rips one, clips the golf tee about a little higher than ankle high, whistles through my legs and goes about 30 feet over the green. I said, hey, Sparky, we got to back off on this. This is a putt. Here's all the further we're taking this back. And it was through and by me like a goalie giving up a goal before I could flinch. But
right through the 5-hole. Right through the 5-hole.
It was a 5-hole, and I flinched when it was gone. But yeah, I was like, woo. But I will say this. There's some kids who are going to be able to play golf. And
yeah, I was going to say, we had a
Tim Krause. I know Tim Krause at the country club. I talked to Tim. I'd like to get Tim on as a guest, talking a little golf. But I know at the country club, they have a tremendous junior golf program, and they do a lot of things there. But that's how you get this going. Baseball, we're talking about this area. I don't know how many pictures I see on Facebook of this 8U, this 10U, this 12U softball team. This baseball team did this. And I'm thinking, are there that many kids in our area who are playing? Yes, there are.
Yeah, it's all
awesome.
about reps.
It's awesome.
It's all about reps. You don't get to where those North Clay boys are by just showing up the first day of practice and playing games. You have to put the work in on your own time and see, you don't have at bats like they do without seeing a ton of pitching, without playing pretty much year round or as close to it as you can around here. And so, there's a fine line. There's always a fine line between what's too much and what's not enough in the summer.
Right. But, and the fine line, I think, is more with your pitchers.
Yeah, and just the kid too. Like the kid's got to want it, right? Like you can't make your kid.
They got to squeeze in golf camp. They got to squeeze in basketball camp. They got to squeeze in, your travel basketball is really only at the high school level right now. Most of your lower level stuff, they don't do the travel this time of the year. But kids still have to be kids. Coaches have to share. We've talked about, Justin mentioned how him and Chet, really get along and do that well. Programs are going to thrive when that happens, but yeah, it's awesome. I ran over my mom and dad the other night and just going by on the scooter, seeing Gene Nickham Park packed with fans screaming and yelling. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
that's the fun part.
We're running into it this week. Mackenzie she went to basketball camp this morning. She had swim lessons. She's just getting back from those now. And
wait a minute, Kim Romack has kids come to a basketball camp. What does she know about basketball?
Yeah, that's
she doubled her attendance this year.
Mackenzie told me that all the girls from the team were there too, so they and that's what we talked about with Coach Frech too, right? Like, those boys, there are so many 8, 10, 12-year-old boys that are looking up to them right now. They're gods in that town. And so it's their chance to set that example, and everybody wants to be the next Brady Ingram. Everybody wants to be the next Donnie Zimmerman. Everybody wants to be the next Logan Fleener. I'm telling you, that's how little towns work. That's how some big towns work too, but especially there, everybody knows each other, and you're setting those examples, and it pays dividends down the road as well.
High school kids don't realize sometimes how much they're idolized by little kids, and they don't realize how much the 70-plus-year-olds live and die listen to them on the radio.
Yeah. I still remember the guys who were in high school when I started, going to some games, especially when I was like in junior high playing in band and stuff like that. Those are the guys I remember from the high school varsity team.
You played the tuba, Whitey?
I was a trumpet player. I wanted to play the drums, and the band director said, we need trumpets. And my parents said, well, we'll do what the band director says. And sometimes I still wish that I'd just gotten the chance to play the drums, but trumpet wasn't too bad.
Band director said, you're no drummer. So let's move over here.
No, the band director, listen here. The band director said, I need smart, talented kids to play in the trumpet, because the trumpet is the backbone of any good pep band and any good jazz band. And so.
And they still ask you?
Listen here. I'm this close to being a prodigy. Okay. So you're
like Doc
short.
You're like, you could have been the next Doc Severinsen.
The thing is, I wasn't even the best trumpet player in my grade. There was a guy my age that he wrote most of the stuff we played in jazz band when I was in high school, ended up going to college for it and all that good stuff. So I was, not even the best one in my own grade, but what are you going to do? I still have fond memories of being a part of that. And, going to the basketball games, I didn't actually even play in high school. But I went to all the games because the band played at halftime and between JV and varsity games, and so you still saw those guys. I was still there, when the boys when they upset T-Town my senior year for the homecoming game. Still.
Is that Coach Brown?
No, by the time I was there, it was Coach Boris.
Oh, it was Artie.
Yeah, Art was there. Well, by the time I was a senior, Kevin Ross was in there for part of that time. I do remember Coach Brown. I went to his basketball camps when I was younger. But Coach
Brown, I know, won a homecoming game because they carried him around on the floor.
Did they? Yeah, I don't remember.
Carried him around on the shoulders.
Don't remember that. They, Coach Bales was there for a little bit. I think before I got to high school, but maybe when I was still paying attention. So we've had some good ones there in Neoga, and I think we got a good one now. I like Andrew. Andrew Snow's.
Yeah, I like Andrew.
He's a good guy. So, all right. Well, I got like less than an hour before I gotta leave for a 10U softball game. So, do we have any other pressing business to cover?
I got to start prepping tomorrow's first open gym for T-Town golf. So I got to go out in the morning and watch you guys hit balls.
Yeah. So, just sort of another reason to subscribe is because through the summer, we don't know exactly what our schedule is going to be like.
I mean, we'll be hit and miss. We won't be religious every Sunday, but yeah. I mean, I'd like to, we've got a lot of people we want to talk to.
There's still guests we can have. And keep the show shorter because we won't spend another 45 minutes talking about local stuff afterwards. So, we'll see. But the best way to know when we're going to do one is to subscribe and follow us on Facebook and all that stuff. And it would just it'd make us feel good, a little dopamine for the boys to feel like we're doing something. So I think that, that should do it. And be watching. Mike's got he's got the connections. There'll be good guests all summer, and football season will be coming before you know it. We'll have to see about pinning Coach Hefner down to do a little preseason stuff on the.
Maybe we should be like investigative reporters and find out who stole the pirate from Lake Sarah.
Boy, that was a disappointing one. My son goes out there with the grandma every now and then.
That whole situation, that had to be all kind of heavy. That's not a one-person job.
I'll tell you, without revealing too much, that just sounds like something I would have got up to when I was about 19 years old.
I'm too angelic, Whitey, to even think about this.
Right. That's what I hear. That's the word. All right, Mike. We'll talk to you later.
Sounds like a good one.
All right.
See you, Whitey.
Bye.